It's been 2 days since the 2020 NHL free agency began. 2 days. 48 hours. Started on Friday, October the 9th. It's now Sunday, October the 11th. 2 days. And it's only taken me until now to really come to terms with the moves that the New York Rangers have made since free agency began. Obviously, we drafted Alexei Lafreniere first overall. We got ourselves a franchise winger that could be with the team for the next decade. Wonderful, brilliant, great. We traded up in the draft to get Braden Schneider at 19th overall. We gave away a third-round pick to get him. Great. Big bruising defenseman. Wonderful. Great. But the free agency, the New York Rangers free agency of 2020, it's only 2 days in. There's still plenty of big hitters around. I wasn't expecting the New York Rangers to go out and go crazy. Wasn't expecting them to sign Pietrangelo or Krug or Taylor Hall or anybody like that. I've trusted John Davidson and Jeff Gorton. I've trusted the process, as the Philadelphia 76ers fans would say. Trust the process, folks. I've trusted them. I've agreed with a lot of the moves they've made. I think they've made great strides for this team. But there's one player that they signed, which I really cannot wrap my head around. On Friday, October the 9th, the New York Rangers signed defenseman Jack Johnson to a 1-year, $1 million contract. Jack Johnson. The guy that all the analytics and the metrics said was one of, if not the worst player, not just left-handed defenseman, not just defenseman, but player in general in the league this year. Now, obviously, I've done a video on him recently. We've talked about the struggles that he had with his parents and his money and how he went bankrupt and how I hoped that he'd find another team that would be interested in giving him a chance, but did it have to be the Rangers? Did it have to be the New York Rangers? Now, I'm not knocking Jack Johnson as a person. He's been through his fair share of struggles off the ice. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being. He's got a fiance or a wife. He's got a family. I'm sure he's very happy. I'm sure he's a chill guy. I'm sure we'd be able to have a great conversation. But that's not the problem here. On the ice, that's where I'm kind of concerned. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, odd man rush, Jack Johnson's going to be used as a 7th defenseman, he's just a depth signing because you guys lost Mark Stahl earlier this offseason because you traded him to Detroit. We've still got him on our roster, and there's still the chance that he could play for us, folks. That's what scares me. That's what keeps me up at night. It doesn't keep me up at night, but you know what I mean. Jack Johnson. He got a great contract from Pittsburgh a few years ago because he's best friends with Sidney Crosby, or that's what a lot of people are claiming. But that doesn't matter. He's a New York Ranger now. We lost Jesper Fast, $3 million a year, going to the Carolina Hurricanes for 3 years. One of, if not our best defensively minded forward, a key penalty killer, very good for us. Knocked out by Brady Shea, of all people, in the play-in round against Carolina on the first play of the game. We lose him, but we get Jack Johnson. Is this like the hockey gods laughing at us? Are they saying, well, Rangers, you did get Alexei Lafreniere, so come on, there's got to be a bit of yin to the yang, Obviously, Jesper Fast, there wasn't really a place in the depth chart for him anymore. He would probably would have been playing 4th-line minutes, and he could go to a different team where he could get more. I don't knock Jesper Fast for leaving. Do I think the Rangers should have kept him? Maybe, maybe not. I think in terms of the depth chart, it was probably right to send him away. But we signed Jack Johnson. Of all people. I said that I wanted him to have success, considering all the struggles he's dealt with. But could it have been with a different team? Please. Why New York? Now, obviously, a lot of people are thinking, oh, we should have signed Krug. There's not many left-handed shot defensemen out there. We should have signed Torrey Krug. No. We shouldn't have signed Torrey Krug. I'm glad we didn't sign Torrey Krug. We didn't need to give him that much money. Yes, we've got $19 million, $20 million in salary cap space. But a lot of that's going to go to our restricted free agents like Strome and D'Angelo and Alexander Georgiev and Brendan Lemieux. That money's going to be eaten up quite quickly. We're getting a lot of money coming off the books next season. We should be able to retain a lot of our restricted free agents or find a way to move on from them. But we signed Jack Johnson? The worst player, technically or statistically, in the NHL last season. There's one stat guy, I think his name's Jay Fresh on Twitter, I believe. His whole shtick has been about how Jack Johnson has been abysmal this last year and several years before. There's a reason Pittsburgh bought him out, folks. Yes, because he was earning, what, $5 million a year or something? Yeah, you don't want a guy like Jack Johnson, who is a statistical nightmare, to be earning that much money. But we sign him for 1 year, which is fine. For $1 million, which is fine. But still, he's a member of the team. He's going to be in training camp for the New York Rangers, and knowing this roster, David Quinn might use him higher up the depth chart. We've already got Brendan Smith on the back end, for goodness sake. We need Jack Johnson as well. We signed Anthony Boteto as well. We signed Kevin Rooney. We got some good depth guys. Boteto's obviously been criticised as a defenseman also. One of the worst right-hand shot defensemen in the league apparently this last season. Winnipeg moved on from him of all places, and they lost half their defensive core in the 2019 off-season. So we could potentially, although it's unlikely, we could see a defensive pair of Jack Johnson and Anthony Boteto. Obviously, Jack Johnson might not be playing very much for the New York Rangers this next year. It's kind of a one-year prove-it deal, right? See if he can work his way back up the system. Obviously, he's worked with Jacques Martin and John Davidson back in Columbus, back in their Blue Jacket days. You know, he's got history with a couple of guys on this roster. But we signed him. I was very happy with the other depth signings that we made. You know, a lot of these guys are going to be playing in Hartford. A lot of these guys we can expose for the expansion draft, like Keith Kincaid. Everybody's like, oh, why are the Rangers signing a goaltender? Expose them in the expansion draft. We can retain both Shesterkin and Alexander Georgiev. Problem solved. So that's fine. All the other moves they've made this offseason, very happy with. This one just confuses me. I've heard Jeff Gorton, or I've heard some of the Rangers fans or the management say, well, he's a good leadership guy. Jesper Fast was a pretty good name in the locker room. Yeah, there's no space for him anymore on the roster, I get that, but still, if you're wanting to retain a guy purely for his locker room leadership, a guy that's won the Rangers Players Player 5 years in a row is probably better than a guy that's coming off a buyout and is statistically one of the worst defensemen in the National Hockey League. The Rangers have an issue with their defense. We know this. We've known this for the last couple of years. They've been through a rebuild. They don't really have many solid defensemen on the roster. So you go out and sign statistically one of the worst defensemen out there. Where's the logic in that, folks? Where's the logic? I can't see it. Yeah, locker room leadership, 7th defenseman, you know, just a guy to throw on the roster. That's fine. As long as that's the way he stays. As long as David Quinn doesn't decide, oh, you know what? He can play top 4 time. Oh, you know what? We've suffered an injury. We're going to play him top pair minutes. Please don't play him top pair minutes. Once again, sure, he's a lovely guy. No knock on the person that is Jack Johnson. I'm talking about the player that is Jack Johnson in the year 2020. And the answer to that is he's not a very good one. In fact, he's a terrible one. In fact, he's one of, if not the worst one in the league this last season, who played the majority of the year. There's a reason Pittsburgh bought him out, folks. Does that mean every single buyout this offseason has been terrible and every single buyout is not going to pan out and they're all terrible hockey players? No, of course not. There's been plenty of hockey players that if there wasn't a flat salary cap, they would still be on their team's roster and being slightly overpaid for the next couple of years, maybe. But the New York Rangers signed Jack Johnson of all people. As long as he stays below guys like K'Andre Miller, Igor Rykov, Libor Hayek, who's actually played in the NHL. Yeah, he hasn't played much, and he's been dealing with a few injuries, but he played pretty well when he was with the Rangers. I quite liked him. I was quite happy with him. As long as Jack Johnson is lower on the depth chart than those guys, we'll be fine. I'm hoping that this doesn't come back to bite us. I know it's the hockey gods laughing at us, saying, look, you got to get Capo Caco last year, you got Alexei Lafreniere this year. We've got to give you a bit of hard times here. We've got to give you a bit of a meme here for this season. But why did it have to be the Rangers that picked up Jack Johnson? Why couldn't it have been a 2-way contract? It really had to be one way, 1 year, $1 million. We're paying $1 million to sign Jack Johnson. I know it's a rebuild. I know he's not going to be used that often. That's what I keep hearing. But what if he is used often? What if he is used every night in the lineup? What if he is used in key situations? What if David Quinn finds a liking to Jack Johnson and really likes his game? What then? What then? Are we going to have to sit here and watch Jack Johnson turn over the puck and be terrible defensively all year? We've got plenty of defensemen that are terrible defensively but put up points. Jack Johnson does neither, as far as I'm aware. Why? Why have we signed Jack Johnson? I feel like I'm going to go insane keep saying that. I've only just come to terms with this fact. The New York Rangers signed Jack Johnson, the worst player in the National Hockey League this last season, who was just bought out of a multi-million-dollar contract because he was that terrible, and the worst buyout and the most logical buyout of every single buyout that happened this offseason. We sign him. I know there weren't many key left-handed defensemen free agents available. I know it's basically Torrey Krug and then Jack Johnson. The depth chart for free agents this year on the back end on the left side wasn't very good, let's be honest, but I'd rather you didn't take anybody. We've got plenty of prospects. Make a trade for a depth guy. We've got plenty of pieces, right? You choose Jack Johnson? Please, New York Rangers management staff. Please, please, please. I'm begging you. Make him a depth player on this roster. Maybe he does pan out. Maybe he does become a great defenseman for us. If so, great. I'm more than happy to say that I was wrong and make another video going, look, I messed up. Jack Johnson was great for us this year. But is that likely? Given his career trajectory, given how well he's played over the last few years, is that likely? I'm going to leave you with one last thing, folks, before I finish this up. Jack Johnson could be playing 15 minutes a night for the New York Rangers next season. Is that worth it? Is that worth getting Alexei Lafreniere? Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Is that worth moving up in the draft to get the 19th overall pick and selecting Braden Schneider? Of course it is. Why not? One season of Jack Johnson for 5-10 years of sitting at the top of the NHL standings? Of course that's worth it. It's really going to sting in the short term, isn't it, folks? It's really going to sting. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? Yep. So that's that then. Free agency's fun this year, isn't it? It's not. It's really boring. Anyways, that's me. I'm out. Welcome to New York, Jack Johnson. Hope you enjoy your season here. Hope it goes well. Hope you don't mess anything up. I'm rooting for you to be a good defenseman, bud. But I've got to be perfectly honest, I hope your stint in New York is short. Because for the Rangers in the long term, I don't think it's the right move. If they sign you to a multi-year contract after this offseason, we're going to have words, you and I. Okay. That's it. I'm done.